but we're never really taught to see our inside world. Why you have an estate. This is why you have your you can hear. Some of you will listen. There's a big difference between from your outside world. Go ahead. Somebody's going to say something? Yep. Two. The average individual goes to what they know. And they pick up that image and it flashes on the screen of the mind. When I say dog, cat, refrigerator, you immediately go to the first place of what you know, because that's the first resemblance of information that you have, which is in your archive. So you go into your programming, you go into your filing cabinet. For information. That information flashes on the screen of the mind. You get the image here, and you get the feeling here in your body. If I say, give me something you're grateful for, let's bring up an idea that you're grateful for. Some of you may, first image that comes to your mind, you may think of your first child. You may go back to the scene of the event. So you drop into your filing cabinet, registers on the screen of your mind, and you see your child, or your first kiss, or your first love, whatever that is, or something with your family. It's rare that you find somebody going beyond and tapping into this infinite field of consciousness. But let's look at what the masses do. Look at here, the masses come into a physical reality. That's as all of us. You, me, your family's family, their family's family, came into an environment. And what do? Follow the leader. It could be mom, it could be dad, it could be mom and dad, it could be the aunt, uncle, grandpa and grandma. It could be you're adopted. I don't know. Whoever that was around you, and the people that were around you, began to train you to think like them. So everything that was happening in your environment, this group method, these group ideas, went straight into your filing cabinet. This information, your box was wide open. You couldn't reject anything. 0 to 5, this is the programming age. 0 to 5, some say even 7 and 8, but 0 to 5, your subconscious is wide open. You didn't have any memory. You had no memory. The average individual, common individual, has no memory from the past because this is their first time, or so they say. and this is your first time, you have no cells of recognition. You have no words. No images with words and emotions attached to them. So you begin to follow the environment. And this begins the beginning of the way you fire and wire together, neuroplasticity. You begin to fire and wire their images. And then so when you begin to do the act of what we call thinking, you do the only thing that you can do. You begin to imagine and think with the group ideas. Now let's go back to this video.
And mastery. And you start down here, in the animalistic state. As a baby, you react to almost everything. And if you study, you'll get to a point where
We're all building the same paradigm.
it's sad, but it's the way it is. And you're playing with the other kids, and you're probably dressed like the other kids, and you're doing what the other kids do. But one day, something happens inside of you, and you desire something greater. I was talking to a person this morning about one of their children. Strong person. The child is. This young person has a strong desire for something greater than what she's doing. And you say, why? What's happening? They want to express their uniqueness as a human being. Blow that up, please. When the person has this aspiration to do something greater, they're looking to express their uniqueness as a human being. This is a bit of a battle then that's going on inside. You see, the desire wants to take them here, but they got locked into a paradigm with a bunch of other ones, and they don't want them to leave. The other kids want you to stay here. They don't want you to leave, but the desire is great, and it's taking you up here. But the paradigm's pulling you back here. Make no mistake.
This is where a majority of people stay stuck.
This is a battle that's going on. Yeah, it's a battle that's going on in every person's life. Some people never break out of it. Now look at. At some point, that desire is so great, and they hear that if they just had some discipline, they could go and do what they really wanted to do. And they start out, the paradigm's pulling them back. And the discipline starts to fade. And they realize that the dream they had of living the life they want was just a wish. And they find they're stuck. They're not sure if they should go ahead or go back. Now, when you're stuck, it's the same place, the same thing again and again. That is not a good place to be. If the discipline is strong enough, you break out. Now look here. There's the conscious mind, the subconscious. In the conscious mind, you have a dream. And you start to get emotionally involved in that dream. You want to plant it in your heart of hearts. It's very strong. But you see, right from the moment of conception, there was other ideas being planted. It was being planted through just the other person's DNA coming in.
The other person's
and
DNA.
The paradigm is strong.
Beliefs.
The dream is small. But if the desire is strong enough, now look here, that dream will grow. As it grows, the paradigm will die. Whenever you see a person where the dream is growing, the paradigm is dying, for goodness sake, help them. Stay with them. Let them know they're on the right track. The deal is overpower the paradigm, and you get
beliefs
that the dream then controls your life. You've created your own paradigm. My goodness, this is the ideal dream of the human creature. It's the soul of the individual. You see, you are a soul. You don't have one, you are one. And the soul's forever seeking its awareness of its oneness with that which is. They may not know where they're going, but they're living the dream. That takes strength, because you not only got the paradigm against you, that's inside. You got one hell of a strong force outside. Hilt said, when riches begin to come, they come so quickly, in such great abundance, that one wonders where they've been hiding through all these lean years. Now, he said, when riches begin to come, riches aren't just measured in dollars and cents. Riches are measured in a way of life. Riches are measured in friends. Riches are measured in the direction that you're traveling, in the experience that you're gaining, in the understanding that you're developing. And he said, when they begin to come, they come so quickly, in such great abundance, that you'll be wondering where they were hiding through all those lean years. Well, look here. When that starts to die, step in and say, no way. That is not going to be a wish. That is going to be my life. I will discipline myself. I don't care what they say. This must happen. I'm living my dream. Your actions change your results. And they take the big idea and they turn it into an experience. And what happens? Their entire life shifts. Everything in their life shifts. And they have mastered this thing called life. They're living their life. They're living the way they want to live. But you know, I got to go back to when I first picked up this book. I was in the fire department in the suburb of Toronto, East York. The East York Fire Department, we only had 2 fire halls. They run an ad in the paper, in the Toronto Daily Star, that they were looking for new firemen. There was probably, 25,000 people applied. They were only hiring about 22. And they were doing it in 2 waves, 12 and 10 or something like that. My mother had just moved into East York. A magistrate, like a judge, lived 2 doors north of my mother. I was fairly shy when I was a young guy. I didn't have a lot of confidence. But something moved me to go and knock on his door, Magistrate Lynn. And I knocked on his door and I said, Magistrate Lynn, you don't know me, but my mother lives just 2 doors down from you. She's at 45. And I said, I'm applying for a job on the fire department. They're advertising. Yet I know there's a few thousand applying. And they're only going to hire 20-something. And I was wondering if you could do anything to help me. Well, you know, I was as nervous as you could get, but I did it. He said, well, come on in, son. He says, you want to be a fireman? I said, yes, sir. This was considered a phenomenal job. I was working for $1 an hour in a service station, changing tires, changing oil. It was a terrible job. I hated it. It was all I thought I could get. With the idea that I get on the fire department, I don't know where it came from. He picked up the phone and he phones the mayor, Bill Allen. He said, hello, Bill. First name I forgot is Lynn. And he said, I've got a young health friend here of mine, would like to get on the fire department. I hear you're hiring. He hung up the phone. He says, go on over and see them. Put your application in. Like that, I was in the fire department. Now, you had to weigh 165 pounds. I weighed 135. I had never weighed over 135 pounds in my life. You had to have at least a high school education. I didn't have 2 months. I had 2 months high school education, just 2 months, not 4 or 5 years, 2 months. I had absolutely nothing going for me except Magistrate Lynn. And apparently that's all I needed. And I'm going to the township office for my medical. And there's an old doctor there. He had the glasses sitting on the end of his nose. He's going over there and weigh yourself, son, stand on those. He says, what does it say? And I said, 165. He said, well, he looked at me. He said, well, we'll leave it at that then. He knew I didn't weigh 165. Now, I was there for 5 years. And the first part of it, I absolutely loved it. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. You see, I went from earning $1 an hour to earning $5,000 or $4,000 a year. It was a big jump. I went from working 7 days a week and sometimes 7, it was once a month, 7, and then the other time 6 days a week. Changing tires. It was hard work. In the winter, it was very hard. I went to work in 7 days and 7 nights a month. And at night, when we were on nights, we could go to bed. We could make our bed and go to bed. And oddly enough, there was very few fires in East York. You very rarely get called out of bed. Periodically, but not very often. I was there for 5 years, and then I started to read this book. Everybody there was content to sit there and watch the television set, play cards, play darts. Just put in their shift and leave. Go to the union or something and shoot pool in the days off, or go play golf. I got into this. Everything in my life changed. I started to set goals. I started to know that you should write a goal on a card, and everything started to change. And I quit. I quit the fire department after 5 years to go and clean offices. And I remember the chief called me into his office. He said, what are you going to do, Bob? And I said, I'm going to clean offices. He said, Bob, you know, when you leave, you can't come back. And I said, I know. I was as scared as a person could get, but the desire was there. The desire was there. I was thinking and planning. I was taking the mastery. I was mastering my own life.
I was thinking
of where I wanted to go.
I was taking the
And
mastery.
I didn't see myself just cleaning offices. I see myself with a business that was operating all over the place.
I was taking the
Everybody
mastery.
thought I was right out of my mind.
Listen to that word.
Almost everybody I knew would tell me, Bob, you're crazy. Don't give up that good job. Remember what you were doing. You were changing tires and changing oil in cars. You were knocking the skin off your knuckles 9 times out of 10. But I had a goal. I had a mentor, and I had a plan. I had an organized plan. I had organized information, and it was being intelligently directed. This is one of the rules from Napoleon Hill. And I left. Now, this deal is strictly between you and yourself. No one else is involved. This is it. There isn't anyone else. You got to stick to it. Now look. The yellow is the organized educational model. The white is the Proctor Gallagher Institute. Now let's
very important. You pay attention to this.
This represents you, and those are your sensory factors. You're sent off to school as a young person, and you can hear what the teacher's saying. You hear with your ears. And because you can hear what the teacher's saying, you are gathering information. That information is being piled up in books in your consciousness. And they want to make sure that you're getting the information, so they give you a test periodic times through the year. They want to find out if you know it. This, they believe, is an education. This is not an education. That's the observation
not
of
an
facts
education.
and remembering them.
Observation of facts.
Now pay close attention. I want you
For the
to
memory of
really listen to what I'm saying. When you listen with your emotions, not your ears. If you listen, odds are pretty good you will learn. That's exactly what I was doing when I picked up this book.
That's when he said he was in the mastery.
I was going to go where the book was sending me. How do you learn? You consciously entertain ideas. You get emotionally involved in these ideas. Then you step out and you act on these ideas. What was I doing? I was acting on ideas that Napoleon Hill had put down in this book. Now look at it. He gathered the information. He wrote the laws of achievement. This is exactly what Andrew Carnegie got him to do. Now look here. Come back here. See these books? These books here that I've got tipped forward.
This is what we're studying all year.
They are the 8 books, the laws
Every
of
day
achievement.
we're going through them.
Carnegie said it's an absolute shame. Like people like myself and Henry Ford are going to their grave with all this knowledge locked up in them. There's a picture of Mary Morrissey, and if you don't know her, and she's got on it, "For my once-in-a-lifetime friend, love always, Mary." I put it here because her suit's the same color and her lipstick the same color as the books. And she soaks this up. You see, Hill had all that information in here, and I was reading it, I was studying it. Now look here, come back. When you consciously entertain, back it up. You consciously entertain the idea. That's what I was doing. Sit down and decide exactly what you want. Write it on a card. Then get emotionally involved with that. When you get emotionally involved, it's going to cause you to step out and act. It's going to cause you to do what you have to do. That is called learning. I was learning how to master my own life. I was learning how to go where my heart was taking me. Everybody was telling me I was wrong. Napoleon Hill was saying, "You're on the right track, Bob."
Now, this is the difference. Educational model, they teach you how to gather, but they don't teach you how to direct it to a definite end. What they do teach a lot of is memory. To be graded for a memory. But you don't experience the memory if you don't know how to put that information together to a definite end. When you gather information, to go beyond what you know is the only time you're re-educated in that body to act and behave as it would have never have behaved. when you can gather information to change your life is the only time you're going to change. If you get a book and you pick up that book and you gather that information to know more, you don't learn that. All you did was gather the information to know more. You've got a little bit more intellectual properties to think and talk about. That's it. This is the difference in knowing and doing. This is the difference in true education and thinking about it. Here we've gone through several points of the lesson. And let's look at this image. As we come in, we move into the animalistic state. React, fight or flight. This is everyone. As we move in, we move into a physical body. We move into their reality, whoever they are. Whoever they are, we move into their reality. We get their DNA, a little bit of mom, a little bit of dad, or whoever we are around in that environment, and we begin to think, act, walk, and talk like them. And by law, we follow the masses. We go up in consciousness, and we get to the masses. And what do? We follow them. We take on their beliefs, we take on their behaviors. We begin to act, think, walk, and talk like them. As we move on the road to mastery, we begin to aspire more. We desire something greater beyond where we're at. We want to experience more. And then we get to the point where we want to individualize ourselves. We want to express our uniqueness, and we look for our own desires. We look for our own goals, our own aspirations. We try to be unique. A lot of times I found that we try to be like them. I grew up in impoverished side of town. And I began to act and walk like them. When I say that, go look at the behavior, look at the way you're acting, and go look at your neighborhood. You think that's an accident? Not anymore. Now, when you look at the stick person and you look in the image of how we begin to reason, we're reasoning with our intellect. And our intellect comes from who? From the masses. We live in 3 planes. Spiritual, we're energy. Then we drop into the intellect, whatever intellect we came into. And then we live in the physical plane. We live in 3 planes, all at the same time. Spiritual beings experiencing a physical, intellectual, physical reality. And we fall in form. And here we are. So many people don't even know who they are. Why? Because their energy falls into that intelligence. And this begins to think. Until this body, this physical reality, what to do. This whole time you thought you've been thinking. Now you are organizing ideas. You may be rearranging ideas, but you started to think from them and you've been on a thought trip. For how long? Yeah, everybody changes. Normally just a little bit at a time. By the time you're here now, right here and now, your now is coming from the past. If you don't change the way you think, eventually you go as far as what you know. And the average individual stops thinking. When they get to the limit of what they know, the average individual stops thinking. They stop reasoning. They stop going beyond. Why? Because they've gone beyond what they know. They're trying to go beyond. And if you don't know, the average individual stays there. Look at your habitat. This is the paradigm right now. The habits you have. The habit you have is your habitat. That's why you have this outer ring and you have that home. You have that car. And you're in perfect alignment with those things according to the job you went into. That sets up a chain of events, the amount of money you earn. The people that you've attracted, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, perfect alignment with even the habitat you were in before. Where did you pick that person up? Really pay attention. No accidents. We just didn't know that we didn't know. The habitat comes from your reasoning factor, the way you think. It's a behavior. The behavior comes from what? Your perception. Your evaluation about you and what's possible. Your perception comes from your beliefs. And this is thinking. What happens to the average individual? They begin to individualize themselves. They keep studying or they keep researching. They keep wanting to grow. But everybody gets to a point where they cannot discipline themselves further than what they know. Everybody stretches, but the average individual will not keep stretching and to get to mastery. Bob said, I left. He went into the mastery. You will never get in the mastery until your body to act, you're telling your body, you're giving it a command, you're disciplining your body to act and behave as it never would have. The majority of people shy away from discipline. So the average individual will discipline themselves enough, they stretch a little bit, they keep stretching some, and then they all get to the point where I've gone far enough. They didn't go far enough. They were not able to go beyond what they know. So what do? They fall back down. They've individualized themselves enough. They've aspired enough, that's what they tell themselves, and they fall back into the mass. This is what's happening. And it's not just happening to you. This happens to everyone. Everyone. I've seen people stuck at 20,000. I've seen people stuck at 30,000. I've seen people stuck at 50,000. I've seen people stuck at 100,000. I've seen people stuck at 150, 200,000. I've seen people stuck at 500,000. I've seen people stuck at 1 million, but they all stay there. I've seen people stuck at 30 million. I've seen people stuck at 60 million. I've seen people stuck at 100 million. But eventually, they don't know what to do anymore. The key is they don't know how their mind works. They don't know that the fear, the doubt, and the worry that they have causes them to not change and eventually stay with what they know. The average individual stays and teeter-totters back and forth, and they stay within these disciplines, and they discipline themselves just enough to get by or maybe to get a little further, but never really break out of the system. This is not just you. This is happening to everyone. The average lifespan of an individual, they go beyond their family members, but they normally average 10 to 15% more. 30% Not very often. And it's rare you find somebody doing 100% more than their family or completely changing it, doing 1,000% better. This is rare. Every generation. They say it takes 6 generations to get out of poverty. Not your children, their children's children, their children's children, their children's children, their children finally begin to break out of it. Out of what? The habit and experience they came into. Why? Because as they think, they gather what they came from. I can go back to the hood, beat bopping, this and that, and pants still dropped. I can go find them. A lot of them wound up in prison, wound up dead. That's the neighborhood I grew up around. I left the environment. Where are you at? Where are you at on the 7 levels of awareness? You want to get to mastery? Bob said he finally got to, I remember Bob talking about having dumb jobs with dumb money. He was just experiencing his environment, what he came into. And we all do that. Your family did that. But it's rare you find somebody learning how to break out of the system. Changing. I see we're at our time. Every Tuesday, we're giving you guys a lot of value. We're teaching you what we teach. Because I know that you can change. I changed. If I changed, I know you could change. I've gone through a lot. But I've gone through a lot of wanting to know more of what I am. I always knew that I was meant for more. But I had to figure it out because nobody was going to do it for me. And that's what mastery is. I knew I was meant for more. But nobody was going to take me there because nobody ever could. And nobody can change anybody that's on this call. And you can't change your wife. You can't go change your husband. You can't change people. People have to really desire mastery if you really want to get there. And we can teach you how to go there. I'm going to invite you guys again every month. We're teaching the laws of success all month long. This Thursday in English, we're going to be teaching financial freedom, how to get there, how to set goals and achieve goals, how to win and live the life that you desire. Send us a message. Thank you guys, and everyone have a wonderful day.